in the image of God, we have to realize that many things that we believe about God should be applicable to our souls as well. Our souls will never die. It has to do with where the soul comes from. My understanding of the soul is that the soul comes from God. And when the body withers away, the soul goes back to God, where it came from, its source. That soul that lives forever does not care for what the body may look like, but about the source from where it comes and the source to which it goes. Now, I know there's a lot of controversy about, what we do while we're here in this world, how we live our lives. There was a time when it was easier for those who, many centuries ago, owned slaves, even the church, to say, blacks don't have a soul, so we don't really have to worry. We can treat them however we want to because they don't have souls. Once you don't have a soul, it doesn't really matter, does it, how you get treated. But once you put value by putting a soul into an individual, then you have to be a little more careful about how you work and deal with them. Many realize that once they recognize that blacks had a soul, they now have to be treated just like everybody else, with care, with Christian love, with looking at us with the eyes of God. Isn't that true of everybody else as well then? If we all, as human beings, as children of God, have been given a portion of God or godness through the soul that dwells in us, don't we all then have to be loved as we love God? Isn't then that the reason why we have to love our neighbors so that we can then say that we love God? Because if we don't love our neighbors who are inhabited by God's Spirit, how can we say that we love God, who is the completeness of that Spirit? It would make no sense. Again, we need to stop looking at the shell. We need to stop trying to regulate what the human body does and start worrying more about the soul. We need to take the time to be concerned about that essence that is colorless, that essence that is genderless, that essence that has no sexual identification or orientation, whatever word you want to use, that essence that has no size, no nothing, but full godliness. When we are able to really take the time to nurture and to value that essence, then all else becomes unimportant. All else becomes secondary. All else becomes human. Simply human and not divine. As you may realize, I can go on this topic for a very long time. I do have to realize I'm not in the Caribbean or in Costa Rica or in Africa where sermons go on for an hour or two. So I want to leave with you a homework, if you may want to call it that way, or a life work. Take more time of your time to think about your souls and the souls of others. Take more time to think about your soul's journey. Where has it come from? What is it doing while it's here in this physical body? And where is it going to go after this earthly journey has ended? Think about the relationship of your soul with the souls of others. A few weeks ago, I spoke about Carl and I's conversation about twilight. I'm going to read it up again today because he's reading it for the second time, so I'm going to be hearing about it more. But it was one interesting tidbit that we were looking at where human being asked the vampire, who she was in love with, change me, meaning turn me into a vampire like you. And he said to her, okay, I'll do it. But I'll do it if it means forever. And she said, what do you mean? He said, marry me. At that moment, this is the movie I saw and I sort of, when I sort of did something like, oh Lord. And Carla, who was sitting beside me, sort of looked at me strange and said, what's the matter? I said, you have to realize that when we made our vows at our wedding, we said, until death do you part. And if you're lucky, it's going to be shorter rather than longer. You see, but when you have the possibility of living forever, it's a very long time. You can end up being with the same person for 2, 3, 4, 500 years. Is that what you really want? I said, the fact that I'm 12 years younger than you means that if we got the same age, you would have 12 years of freedom after I'm gone. If it's for eternity, you don't have that anymore. Of course she was kind of upset with me for a little while, but the concept of the soul moving on and the body being left behind is essential to the concept of the earthly marriage that we understand. And that's why we use the term, till death do you part. Because once death comes, that earthly union comes to an end. Because whether we like it or not, the soul will continue its journey towards the oneness from which it came before. Yes, the soul seeks its similar or its likeness while we're here. But it doesn't fully find it until we have left this body and return to the oneness from which we came. I pray that we will all be able to find our own souls. Don't spend as much time thinking about your soulmate as much as your own soul. If you don't understand your own soul, how can you think that you're going to understand somebody else's? Find yourself. Find the essence of you. Strip away the labels that people have put on you, on us, and try to find that essence. So that in finding that essence, you'll be able to understand just how godly you are, just how much in the image of God you have been made. And once you have been able to find the essence of you, it'll be easier to find the essence of the other and not put labels on them either. God seeks that the human family be one. The only way that we're going to achieve that is if we realize that our oneness comes from the unity of our souls with our Maker.